I'm glad you've joined me for my author Q&A, and today I'm going to answer the top 10 questions I get asked most often when I visit schools, questions I get from children in emails and letters. So let's get going.
How did you become an author?
Well, I could answer this question with just one word: persistence. Because that's what it took to become a children's author, not giving up. Now, when I first started writing way back in first grade, as you can see, my writing was a little sloppy and I had a lot of misspelled words. And as I grew up and I practiced writing in school, of course my writing got better. And then when I became an adult and decided I wanted to try writing children's books, I went and took classes at night on writing books for children. I went to seminars and conferences, and I made some friends, other writing friends, and we joined a critique group and we helped each other make our writing better. So when I became a children's writer, it was because I wouldn't give up.
Where do you get your book ideas?
You know, the crazy thing about book ideas is I get an idea for a new book when I'm not even looking for it. That's how it's always happened. For example, the Animals Are Sleeping book, the idea came while I was driving in the car. What's New at the Zoo? I got the idea for this book while I was writing a different book. My Climbing Lincoln Step book came from something I heard on the radio. And The House That George Built, I got the idea for this when I was talking to a friend about a project his daughter was working on for school. So book ideas are everywhere, and I love it when I get new ones.
How many books have you written?
Like some authors, many of my stories will never be published, but I have had about 90 books published so far. Well, my books are on lots of different topics. Some of them are on history, like The House That George Built, or Climbing Lincoln Steps. I have books that help kids practice math, like Multiply on the Fly, with some great fun insects. The Great Divide is a great division title. What's New at the Zoo, my fun book about baby animals at the zoo. Animals Are Sleeping, which is a bedtime book about the ways animals sleep. And What's the Difference, which shares how people help endangered animals. So I've written books on all kinds of topics, and they've all been a lot of fun.
What's your favorite book that you wrote?
I have been asked this question at every single school I visited. And this is what I always say. Now think about a grandma who has a lot of grandchildren. Do you think she really would love one of the grandchildren more than all of the others? Probably not. Grandmas love them all, and they love them for different reasons, and that's how I feel about my books. I cannot pick a favorite, but I will tell you there's certain things about my books that I really enjoy. Like the What's New at the Zoo, I enjoy that it's a fun book, that it rhymes, and I love the animals in the book. The House That George Built, I think, is really special because it shares some really cool history that I never knew that is absolutely fascinating. Climbing Lincoln Steps, another of my favorites because of the message it shares about change and how everybody, anybody, can make a small step of change, and together they add up to big changes. What's the Difference? Another fun book that I really enjoy because it talks about how people have helped endangered animals and how we can too, so it's very encouraging.
What do you like to do besides write?
One of my most favorite things to do is go rollerblading. So I thought I'd bring you with me up to the park where I rollerblade. And as we roll along the asphalt, you can see the beautiful view of the plants and pond. Hi!
Do you draw the pictures in your books?
Well, I wish I was a talented artist and could draw the pictures for my books, but I'm not, and I don't. But the cool thing is the publishers have smart art directors who choose the perfect illustrator for each book. In What's New at the Zoo, the amazing Joan Waits painted realistic, colorful, adorable zoo animals. In Climbing Lincoln's Steps, the award-winning illustrator Colin Bootman painted moving scenes of Marian Anderson and Dr. Martin Luther King. And in The House That George Built, the talented Rebecca Bond brought history to life in her sweeping, detailed paintings of the incredible house that George built.
What was your favorite book when you were young?
You know, it's fun to think about the books that I loved to read when I was young because I was a huge reader. And in fact, every summer I joined the summer reading club at my library. And I still have some of my favorite books. They're getting kind of old now, but one of them was Little House on the Prairie. What a wonderful story that I love to read again and again. Another of my favorites was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I mean, who could forget Charlie's story? And this book is so old, I think it's starting to fall apart, but I don't care. I love it, love it. And here's a book, another favorite. It's not a popular book that you might hear about today, but it was called The Toothpaste Millionaire. And I belonged to a reading club where every month they would send me new books to my house. And this was one they sent. Cool story about a boy named Rufus, smart boy, who made his own toothpaste, sold it, and made $1 million. And then I think one of my all-time favorites was The Mouse and the Motorcycle by Beverly Cleary. I don't have the book anymore. I have another book here at home by Beverly Cleary. You know, she wrote the Ramona books too. But The Mouse and the Motorcycle book was so exciting. And I was so inspired that when I was in 4th grade, I wrote the author, Beverly Cleary, a letter, and she wrote me this letter back. Talked all about the books Beverly had written, but on the back was the cool part, a handwritten note from Beverly Cleary herself.
How long does it take to write a book?
Great question. And of course, the answer varies from book to book. Some books take longer than others. Now, there are 2 kinds of books that I write. One is the kind where a publisher asks me to write that book. And those books, like my book called A Raindrop's Journey and What If There Were No Bees, those generally take about 2 weeks to write. Now, the other kind of book is where I get the idea and I write it and send it into a publisher, and those take a little bit longer. For example, The House That George Built, I can look back on my computer at the different revisions and I see that I worked on this story for about a year, doing research, revising and writing. There's some rhyming parts in it that took a little longer. So this one took about a year. What's New at the Zoo? My Animal Adding Adventure, another rhyming book. This took about 2 months to write. Now, one of my longest books was this bigger book called Adopted, and it's for adopted teenagers. My daughter is adopted, so adoption is a really important topic to me. And for this book, I interviewed lots and lots of adopted teens and adoption professionals, and I collected their stories along with my own writing. So this book took 2 years to write.
Do you have any children?
I have 2 children, my daughter Christina, who loved to play dress up, and my son Patrick, who was always a busy guy, and now they've grown up into teenagers.
What's your favorite animal?
Oh, that's the easiest question of all. My favorite animal in the whole world is sitting right here on my lap. It's my dog, Corduroy. Well, thanks for joining me, guys. Hope we talk again soon. Bye-bye.